Kirby Allison, founder of The Hanger Project. And here at The Hanger Project, we love helping the well-dressed take care of their wardrobes. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I pack to travel. Now, packing is a delicate art between balancing fitting as much into your luggage as possible, while packing in such a way that you protect your clothing and all of your items arrive undamaged and ready to be worn. So today I leave for a 6-day trip to London and Paris, and so I've got all my clothes here, and I'm gonna be showing you how I fit it into my luggage. Now, we all reach a point in our life where we just don't wanna struggle with our luggage anymore, and so I've recently upgraded all of my luggage to the Rimowa Salsa Deluxe. I've got 3 different pieces from them. I've got their largest carry-on piece of luggage, I've got a medium check, and a large check. And so depending on how long I'm gone determines which piece I take. So if I'm going on a domestic trip where I'm just gonna be gone for a few nights, of course, I'm always taking my carry-on. But if I'm going internationally and I'm gonna be taking more clothes, then I'm choosing between one of my 2 different pieces of checked luggage. For a trip that's less than a week, I'm gonna take my medium, and for anything that's longer than a week, I typically take my largest piece of luggage. You'll also see that whenever I travel, I always make a point to dress up in a jacket and tie. I find that I've just received better service when dressed properly, and promise that I've even received upgrades solely because I was well dressed. Secondly, it just makes travel more fun. I pack my luggage in 2 different sections. On the left side, which doesn't have the railings from the handles and it's the most flat, I put all of my clothing. And then on the second side, the right side, which has kind of the rough bottom because of the handle reinforcements, I pack my shoes and then all my different sundries. The reason I keep those apart is because on the left side, I'm able to pack all my clothing. I'm able to keep it flat and as wrinkle-free as possible. I don't have to worry about any of my bulky stuff possibly damaging anything. And then on the right side, I'm packing my shoes and then everything else in such a way that, again, my shoes are well protected, but I'm still able to fit kind of all those random things in there without bothering any of my clothes to the left. The other thing that I've recently started doing differently is I'm always traveling with my hangers. And again, it just goes back to this philosophy of not wanting to struggle whenever I'm packing. And so if I'm packing with my hangers, whenever I arrive, I'm able to just pull everything out of my wardrobe or everything out of my luggage, hang it in the wardrobe. I don't have to hassle with putting things on or off the hangers or folding things nice and neatly. And then second, it's just nice to have hangers that fit and that are taking care of my clothing properly. Now, this is something you could really only do with the proper hanger, like the wooden hangers we sell here at the Hanger Project. If you were to try to pack with wire hangers, I would be too worried about those sharp metal ends tearing my fabrics or scratching anything. So with hangers from the Hanger Project, this is something I'm able to do. Now, as I mentioned earlier, on the left, smooth side of this Rimowa luggage is where I like to put all of my clothes. And I'm gonna start with my trousers first. So the reason I start with my trousers first is because I figured that between the trousers and the shirts, the trousers can take the most amount of weight on top of it without creasing in any unsightly way. So I flatten these out, and what's nice about this large Rimowa is that these can just fit in with just being folded over once. Now, if I'm traveling with my carry-on piece of luggage, I can actually get these on the left side of the Rimowa carry-on with just folding, like this at the cuff. So again, I really love this Rimowa luggage. I find that it packs very easily. I've got the second pair of trousers from my gray flannel suit. So again, I'm going to put this in right here. So I like to alternate, again, kind of the direction I pack things just so that it packs flatter. Now that the trousers are in, I'm going to pack my shirts next. Now, as I mentioned, one of the things I really love to do is to pack with the hangers, and it's actually quite easy to do. What you do is you just slide the hanger into the shirt so that the top of the hook is level with the collar, and then you just simply fold your sleeves over and then fold the body of the shirt over once, and it fits in perfectly. Okay, so next I'm gonna pack my second shirt. On my first shirt, my collar was towards the left. On the second shirt, I'm gonna pack it with the collar towards the right. The reason I do this, again, is just so that those items nest as much as possible, and I find that it just allows me to pack everything in flatter. So I'm gonna position this, I'm gonna fold the sleeves. I'd like to flatten these things out as much as possible. Since this is a French cuff shirt, I'm gonna fold that over once, and then again, I'm gonna fold this shirt over once, and there you go, perfectly flat. Again, I'm gonna drop the hanger into the shirt body, and then I fold my sleeves over. And then fold this once. Now, one of the things I do is before I pack my last shirt, I take a moment and I pack any of the other items in there before I put that last shirt. I like the last shirt to be, or I like to have a shirt that I place in last to just kind of seal everything into this clothing compartment. So I've got the vest that I'm gonna wear with my stroller. I'm gonna put this in here. I'm gonna place this without the hanger, just because the direction I place this, the hanger really wouldn't go. But as you can see, I can fit this in there and nothing wrinkles. And then what I'm gonna do is pack my ties, right? So again, whenever I'm packing, I'm thinking, one, how do I pack everything in such a way that nothing wrinkles or that I minimize wrinkling? And then two, how do I pack things in such a way that minimizes movement around inside the luggage? So one of the tricks that I've learned with packing ties is basically I'll pack these kind of in a lattice pattern with kind of one over the other. And what this does is, again, it just locks these ties in together so that you don't have all your ties moving kind of around in the luggage. So let's see, I've got that. I'm gonna throw my pocket squares in right here. I've got an undershirt I'm gonna throw also on top of that. Okay, and then I'm going to pack my last shirt on top of all this. Now you'll see, again, because I've got this shirt going on top of everything, it's just going to, again, kind of help lock everything in and just protect the clothing from anything that could damage it. I always like to pack with a few extra white shirts, especially whenever I'm traveling to London. You know, there's just nothing more elegant than a nice white shirt. And I find that whenever I'm traveling, I really appreciate my white shirts the most because they're just so versatile in how I can wear them. So this is the last shirt. And then let's see what else. I'm going to take my socks. You know, I like to put the socks kind of in between the hooks to the hanger. Again, just with the idea of kind of locking those in so that nothing's moving around. And then there's inevitably always a little bit of void kind of around the edges. So I'll pack my socks in kind of in and around that. But for the most part, I think I'm done with everything here on the shirts. So I'm gonna close this side over. And again, one of the things I really appreciate about the Rimowa is you've got these little accordion dividers. And so it just allows me to cinch everything down, and it's just gonna keep everything secure and from moving around too much. So for this 6-day trip to London, I'm gonna take 3 pairs of shoes. I'm gonna take 1 pair of casual loafers, which I'm wearing, and then 2 pairs of black shoes, bespoke, hole cut seamless, and then my bespoke cap toe Oxfords. So the way that I've packaged these is basically, I'm gonna put everything in a shoe bag. But what I like to do is, one, is I'll first place the shoe in the Cleverly bag that they came in. But then second is I'll essentially double pack them. And what I'm using here are the Hanger Project moleskin shoe bags. And I like these because they're the plushest, softest shoe bag, and you just are gonna have the best protection for your shoe against anything inside the luggage damaging that. So I'm essentially just double bagging these. I'm taking the time to snap these closed. Another thing I really like about this Hanger Project moleskin bag is that it can be tied. And again, this is just gonna do a better job protecting the heel. And then these bags are also available in several sizes. Now, another thing that I've learned to do with my shoes is I always place my shoes and anything that's heavy that I'm packing at the bottom of the luggage. You might not be able to see it, but the wheels are on this end. And so by having the heavy items at the bottom, whenever the luggage is upright and I'm rolling it through the airport, the heaviest items are already all the way at the bottom. So you don't have to worry about them falling down the luggage and crunching everything. So I always pack my shoes at the bottom. Another thing that you'll see is I always travel with my shoe trees. And again, because I want to be protecting my shoes. And so by packing the shoes with my shoe trees, I know that even if I've got a lot of stuff on top of this shoe, that the integrity and the structure and the shape of the shoe is being protected by the shoe tree. The other reason I like to always pack my shoe trees is because inevitably, whenever I'm traveling, I'm always doing a lot of walking. And so it's even more important at night to make sure that you let your shoes rest with the shoe trees inserted. So I know that shoe trees can be heavy. We sell a travel shoe tree here at the Hanger Project that's lightweight. These bespoke trees from Cleverly are especially lightweight. But regardless of what the weight sacrifice is, I always feel that it's necessary to travel with shoe trees. Now again, if you don't have one of our Hanger Project moleskin bags, you can double, triple bag your shoes. I mean, again, the more kind of protection you have around the shoe, just the less you have to worry about it scuffing or anything kind of scratching or damaging your shoes during transit. Personally, I really appreciate that peace of mind. Now, since these are so well packaged, I'm gonna actually place this fourth shoe and kind of nest it between two of these other shoes. With the shoes packed, now I can move on to kind of placing everything else in, all the kind of sundry items in the leftover space on this side of the luggage. And again, whenever I'm doing that, I'm just thinking, how do I place these items in such a way that I'm going to protect my shoes as much as possible? Now, one of the ways that I'll do that is I'll take, some of my underwear and some of my other kind of soft clothing items, and I'll place those on top and kind of around the shoes, because again, it's just an additional layer of protection. Always travel with the Maglia Francesco travel umbrella, so I'll put that kind of right here. You never know when it's going to rain, especially in London. I've tried to travel with the full-size umbrella, but it's just too awkward getting onto an airplane with the full-size umbrella. So I've just kind of resolved myself to traveling with a nice travel umbrella. So we've got an extensive collection of Maglia Francesco umbrellas available at the Hanger Project. You can find one that suits your style, and it's a small but subtle way to really add a little bit of kind of flair to whatever you're wearing. So even in London, where I'm dressed quite formally, or New York, it's nice to have an umbrella that just is a little bit out there in terms of style. And so that's one of the things I really appreciate about the Italian umbrellas. These are the extra shoe trees that I spoke about earlier. I'm just gonna put these kind of in there. And then let's see, I've got my toiletries. One of the other reasons I really enjoy traveling with checked luggage is that you don't have to compromise in terms of shaving. If you're carrying on your luggage, you're limited in terms of what you can bring, so you can't bring your favorite aftershave balm. Oftentimes they'll try to confiscate, your shave cream. You certainly can't bring a safety razor, but if you're checking your luggage, you can take all that. So if I'm traveling abroad and I'm checking luggage, I just find that having the right shaving accoutrement whenever I'm traveling internationally is just kind of a home comfort for me, so I always take that. So I've got my shave cream, I've got a shaving brush, a Badger shaving brush, and then I've got some of the, this is the Castle Forbes shaving balm, which I love. Now these liquids, I always have a few kind of small Ziploc bags in my luggage. And so I'll make sure that this cap or the top is closed tightly. And then I always put these liquids, anything that could possibly spill on my luggage, I always put it in its own Ziploc bag. Now this, I'm going to, instead of placing it in this compartment, I'm gonna put this in kind of the zip. And again, this kind of helps kind of protect, should this explode, this divider is waterproof and would help prevent that. So here I'm traveling primarily with black shoes. I'm gonna take some black cream polish. I'm gonna put this in its own Ziploc bag. And then I always travel with wax polish. So here I'm going to travel with some black mirror gloss because in London, especially in the gentlemen's clubs, having a properly shined pair of shoes is very important. So I'll always take a moment at the end of the night to just polish my shoes for the next day. And then I'm going to take some neutral wax polish. And again, if you were traveling with brown, burgundy, you can always use your neutral to just quickly shine your shoes. And so if you were only going to travel with one piece of shoe polish, I would say just a 50 ml tin of the Saphir Medallion or neutral polish is really as good as it gets. So I'm going to put these in a bag, again, just to protect them. I'm traveling with the High Shine Chamois. Again, this is very useful for shining your shoes. I always travel with one of our medium shoe shine brushes. Again, at the end of the day, I like to buff my shoes, brush them out, just to keep them clean and looking good while I'm traveling. I'm gonna put that here. I've got a small cigar case with 2 of my Royal Corona Bolivars. I'm gonna place that in here. One of the other kind of tips or kind of tricks I picked up over the years of traveling is that in whatever country you're traveling to, if you're traveling with like Apple products, go by the store and see if you can either buy or have them give you just one of the little adapters that goes on. So I've got one of these with the Euro adapter. I've got one for the UK, and I just find that it's so much better than using a converter. I've got the iPhone chargers for the UK and for Europe, and so again, it just saves all those crazy adapters that you might be used to traveling with. I've got a travel shoehorn. I've got one of these in my briefcase, but I also like to keep one of these in my luggage. Another thing I always travel with, and this is through experience, a bad experience actually, is I always travel with an extra set of sovereign grade shoelaces. This is actually something you should just go ahead and put in all of your luggage. If your shoelaces break while you're traveling, you can rest assured it's going to be right before an absolutely critical meeting. And you're not going to have an extra pair of shoelaces with you, and no shops are going to be open where you could go buy shoelaces. So this is just something good to have, because if disaster strikes, you always want to be prepared. So I like to keep that. I've got a little travel pouch that I keep my collar stays in. And then another thing I always like to travel with is just a spare iPhone battery charger, because you're out all day. Especially this day and age, if your phone dies, it can be rather disastrous. And then although I've got the wireless earphones for my iPhone, I also always travel with a pair of kind of Bose wired headphones. And the reason is because like on an airplane, you still need to plug in. So these I'll keep in my briefcase. And then another thing that I always travel with is just a lightweight V-neck sweater. And I'll keep this in my briefcase. And the reason is we all know that whenever we get onto the airplane, that can be absolutely freezing. And so having a sweater that you can throw over easily whatever you're wearing is often a lifesaver. So I'm gonna keep that. So there we go, we're done with this side. I'm gonna go ahead and close this off. Okay, one of the things that you'll notice that I didn't pack in my luggage are my suit jackets. And I absolutely refuse to pack any suit jackets in my luggage, because you're just asking for all of the structure and kind of three-dimensionality of a nice suit jacket to really be completely squished out of it. So I always carry all my jackets onto an airplane. And so I'm going to Europe, it's a 6-day trip. I'm gonna take 2 suits and an odd jacket. And so what I'll do is I'll always wear one of them onto the airplane and then carry the other 2 in a garment bag. So this is our Hanger Project luxury garment bag. It's really one of the best garment bags in the world. And one of the things that we were keeping in mind whenever we designed this was that it could be used for travel also. So what I'll do is I will take my suits, and I'll hang 2 suit jackets on the same hanger, right? And so especially with our luxury kind of wooden suit hanger with the 2.5-inch shoulder flare, you can do this and the garments are still incredibly well supported. right? I'll always put, if I've got a jacket that's cut slightly larger than the other, I'll always put that on last. And then I'm simply just going to put this into the garment bag and then fold this in half. And what I'll do is, again, I'm checking this piece of luggage, right? You're allowed 2 carry-ons. So I'll take my briefcase with me, and then this garment bag will be my second piece. You can put this either in the overhead storage, or if you're on an airplane and you've got a nice flight attendant, you can ask if they'll allow you to hang it in one of the hanging closets. Personally, that's what I always do. And what's nice about this bag is it can be folded over, and we've got this little tab at the top that allows it to be easily secured in place. And so it's just efficient to carry. One of the other things is if you unzip it a little bit, you can carry it underneath the neck of the hanger. And it's just very easy to carry through the airport. You've got your briefcase in one hand, your garment bag in the other. Now, if you try to carry it on the hooks, your fingers will hate you. The trick to get around that is just carrying it from underneath the neck of the hanger. As I mentioned, you know, I always travel with my hangers, so I'm gonna just place kind of the extra hangers that I didn't use into my luggage. You know, what I might even do is take one of these onto the airplane, so if I wanna hang this jacket, I have the option to do it. You'll see that I travel with my briefcase. Basically, I use an overnight bag. One of the reasons I love using an overnight bag as a briefcase is because you can just throw so much great stuff inside that, so it's always nice. I've got my trouser hanger. I've got the extra shirt hanger for the shirt that I'm wearing. So there we go. So I'm gonna close this luggage. So I've got my checked luggage. I've got my garment bag that I'm gonna carry on. And then I've got my briefcase. And I'm just gonna throw this other hanger in there and these items. It's gonna be quite chilly in London and Paris, so I've got my top coat. This is a top coat, an old Christian Dior actually inherited from my grandfather. And then I'm taking a top hat with me. Anyone that's ever been in cold weather knows that a top hat really is almost as effective or as important as a top coat to keeping you warm. And there's no more stylish way to travel than a top hat. So I always take one of my Optimos with me. This is something that you would absolutely carry onto the airplane. You have to wear it on and then be very careful putting it in the overhead space just to make sure that no one comes in after you and puts anything on top of it. If you have any questions about anything that I discussed in this video, please ask it in the comments section below. Also, if you have anything that you can share with us, something that you've learned over the years or decades of travel, please share that also. Lastly, if you like this video, give us the thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you can learn whenever we release new videos. And of course, make sure you visit hangerproject.com to view our full assortment of luxury hangers, luxury garment care, and luxury shoe care accessories. I'm Kirby Allison. Thanks for joining us.